probably will deliberately trigger production, food production in terms of agriculture, and production in terms of the number of factories and industries that rises, which is an environment to be created by policy of government to not the bias for increase in foreign reserve as an indices to show the people that the economy is improving, but what will trigger internal production and then improved welfare of the people. That's what I said about choices.
You're a member of the opposition People's Democratic Party, and I start there because I want to ask you, as a member of your party, looking ahead to the next election, when we talk about economy, we talk about security, you look back and then you look forward, what would you tell Nigerians in terms of, from the vantage point of your party, that you would do differently than what Buhari is doing now and that what previous PDP administrations had done before now in terms of ensuring that we see economic growth, that we see enhancement in security, etc.?
Well, the first thing we would do differently is to tackle the issue of security. Because the first instinct of man is to be secure. It's only when you are secure that you can begin to think of going to churches or mosques or even development. Now, what do I mean by that? The situation now in the rural area in terms of security is nothing to write home about, where people are being chased away from their homestead, where they do their agrarian, peasant agriculture. The effect will soon be in the public place domain anytime from now. So what we do differently is harmonious relationship in the farm. This has meant a problem, if not curbed immediately, it's going to look like a food crisis, which will be much more than what it is. So what we'll do differently is agriculture.
Just before we go to what you would do differently, you know, as my colleague rightly pointed out, and we introduced you as a member of the PDP, when you got on this show, a lot of people would be very surprised if you had come on to say that the Buhari administration was doing well, especially concerning the economy. But would you say, I mean, looking at some of the indices, because the federal government did give, you believe the earpiece, okay. The federal government did give a pretty robust response, if you like, to the criticism leveled against them by former President Olusegun Obasanjo. And one of the areas where they focused on was the achievement concerning the economy. They talked about the fact that they've risen 24 places in the World Bank's ease of doing business, which is something that the country has been looking forward to doing before, improving on that ranking. They're also talking about their Q3 2017 figures where agriculture export, because you're very focused on what's happening in the farm as well, and you're talking about, you know, a crisis, especially in the rural areas. Agriculture exports is up year-on-year by 25%. Solid minerals exports are up year-on-year by 78%. Raw materials exports are up by 70% year-on-year. Manufactured goods exports are also up 22%. These are all areas that, you know, the federal government is looking to diversify and ensure that, you know, it creates jobs, because we know that oil doesn't really provide jobs. It might look good for your GDP, but it doesn't really look good for employment. So in these areas, will you not be kind enough to acknowledge that indeed perhaps they're doing some work in these areas, but we're just yet to feel the trickle-down effect on the economy?
Well, I'm not a rabid critic. I see things, you know, when they are good, but I also see things when they are not good.
So
it has nothing to do.
Are you saying that you don't see anything good?
No. All these statistics that have been rolled out, assuming, you know, without conceding that they are correct, why should unemployment then rise from 14% to 18%? You know, because at the end of the day, it is who gets job that helps, you know, the ordinary people.
Honorable member,
just a moment. Do you think it has anything to do with our population, perhaps?
Well, population is also an asset, you know. Yeah, population is okay. It is in this same population. I know that in one of the motivation when I was young is for polygamy is to have more hand on the farm. When a father take about 20 people to the farm, the production will be more than one man.
Some people will say that
it's not population.
You say population is an asset.
It's an asset.
Some people will say you should say population could be an asset because it depends on how you prime your population. Would you say that we have primed our population to be an asset?
I agree with you. We have not primed our population to be an asset. After all, we have a country with 1.something billion. When I was the Soviet Union in 1979, there were 256 million people, and they have only 9 months out of 1 year to plant, because the other 3 months everywhere will be on ice, so you can't plant anything. Yet they fed these 256 million people planting for 9 months. So priming of the population for us as an asset, I agree with you, we have not done well in that regard.
Honorable Member, when we talk about the large population we have and turning it from a potential problem into a potential blessing to the country, we have to talk about foreign direct investment. This government would assert that the World Bank's assessment that Nigeria is now, due to some government effort, is one of the top 10 best reforming nations in the world, moving up 24 spots on the Ease of Doing Business World Ranking, is an indicator of what has happened in terms of the actions taken by the Presidential Ease of Doing Business Council. Now, what do you have to say about that as an indicator that the economy is indeed turning around based on the policies of this administration?
Well, beautiful. I mean, that's beautiful. I will wait to see the effect of that translated into IOCs, international companies, foreign investment flowing into Nigeria. I will be very happy to see that, because whatever I say now will be my word against their own word. But this is in the womb of time, what you have said, the ease of doing business. But I know that the environment is not conducive for investment, heavy investment yet. That is why we are still having the problem we are having in terms of employment.